Oh,
Do we have to, just in case?
Such a professional. So welcome everyone to Road to CF, the Australia edition. Ooh, oh my God, the crowd goes wild. I love the translators, they all do the hand movements. So we're here to catch up with everyone. You guys are on the road to becoming CFs, and we're CFs, and my name is Sarah. I'm one of the worldwide live language coordinators, live translation coordinators.
And how long have you been with Access, Sarah? Let's ask each other questions.
I love it. I found Access maybe 10 years ago now, and I blame it on my brother, Brendan Watt. He found Access first, and then basically it made him very happy, and he told me to go and get my bars run, and I did that. And my life has never been the same since.
And here you are today.
Here I am today.
Exactly. So, all right. So then I'm Simone Millicers, and I used to be an alcoholic. No, I'm kidding. I've been working with Gary and Dane using Access Consciousness tools for about 21 years, and it's been amazing. I sometimes look at my life, like I actually just went to the middle of Australia with Sarah, and we were hiking and hanging out, whatever, and we were talking about different stories about our lives, and I look at my life and what it was before I came along to Access, and oh my goodness, it's completely different. And can I say, when I first started coming along to some Access classes too, Gary used to talk about in the classes and say, so when you're working on your clients, and I'd think, why is he talking about working on my clients? I don't want to work on any clients. This is for me, and I used to get so annoyed that that's the way he would talk about it. And then within 6 months, I found myself in Houston, Texas at my first facilitators class. And how this class showed up was Gary, they'd already done a facilitators class, and it was really new that there was facilitators because Gary was doing the foundation class for quite a while. And then he realized that, okay, in order to this expand, and that, can I say, is why I'm so grateful for Gary and the way he runs his business and the business of Access Consciousness is he's always in question of what's going to create something greater. So he and I said to him, hey, I'd like to do a facilitators class. And he said, well, if you can get 12 people, I'll do another one. And I went, done. So I got 12 people. He should have said more. And I went to Houston, Texas. And I don't know, like if you're from Australia, I can see Penny here. Hello. And it's like going to Houston, Texas is not like this lifelong dream for an Australian. Like LA or New York might be something, but you don't go, I want to go to Houston, Texas. Like it's not this thing. And so I'm flying in there and I was looking around and I was like, wow, I'm in Houston, Texas. This is so surreal. And if you've been to America, you know what I'm talking about. And, the first time I got there, I went to this restaurant and I ordered some food, and the waiter came over and he, gave me my food, but he gave me this salad. And I went, oh, no, this is not mine. And I said, I ordered a side salad. And he went, that is a side salad, ma'am. Welcome to Texas. And I was like, oh my God, this is a salad big enough to feed like a family of 4. So I was in Houston. Gary did his own registrations. He sat there while we all walked in, and he was so sweet because I had no money. Like I was poor as. I did everything I could to get this ticket to go to Houston. And we were doing the class in somebody's house. And I had enough money to share a bed with someone in a hotel for a few nights, but not every night. So she was like, look, you can sleep on a mattress on the floor if you want, like in the lounge room. And I was like, yes, I'll do that. Thank you. Like, so everywhere that you guys think that we've all had money and that we've always had money, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Good and bad, pock and pottle, 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. What we did have is the demand. And I had the demand because I knew that this so matched the energy of what it was I was asking for in the world. So, and I had a business at that time called Good Vibes for You. And we had all these stickers and magnets and things that, I was looking at how do I empower people to choose something greater. So Gary, as kind and generous and smart as he is, because he knew, he said, he looked at me and went, okay, this woman needs to be a facilitator. So I didn't even pay for my first facilitators class. I took him all the money's worth, like a couple of $1,000s or something worth of stickers and magnets. So I walked into class. Didn't you know this, Sarah? I walked in there and counted out all the stickers, and I was like, here's my contra for the class, you know. And Gary was like, great. And then they sold the stickers. Like, I mean, he, you know, sold them retail, etc. So they made money on it. But he knew the energy of having me on board and what that would create. So if you know something, choose it. Like, how many times do you disavow your knowing rather than you just know? Okay. And it's like, if you find that sentence coming out of your mouth saying, oh, you know what, I was going to do that, or I was thinking about that, even if right now you put your attention on that and maybe stop using that as your excuse and justification for not creating something greater. And every single time you get a hit on something, choose it. Like, I was just at an appointment with a practitioner that I know quite well, but I was at this butcher's shop that's not far from her place, and I just got this ping, and I went, I'm at Eumundi Butchers. Do you want any meat? And she went, oh my God, yes, please. And I was like, cool. And she was like, thank you so much. And I'm like, that's cool. But I got the hit. You know, when you get that hit, I call it the umbrella theory. You know, when you're walking out the door and you go to take the umbrella and you go, nah, it's not going to rain. And then 5 hours later, you're going, damn, it's raining. Okay. Follow what you know. And I know that if you are all working towards being a certified facilitator, you know, are you following what you know? Ask yourself what truly matters to you. Not what the needs of consciousness are, not what the needs of access are, or the needs of anyone else. Ask, what truly matters to me? Not me, you, okay? Not like what truly matters to Simone, okay? That'd be weird. But what truly matters to me, okay? And keep asking that question and keep moving forward, no matter what it takes and no matter what it looks like. I cannot tell you the amount of times I use those two sentences for so long. And when Gary used the words of demand of you and request of the universe, some people flip it around. It's not the other way around, okay? You can't demand of the universe. You demand of you and request of the universe. And I demanded so much that no matter what it takes, no matter what it looks like, I'm doing this, because this matched the energy of what I knew was possible here on the planet. Okay. So that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, 21 years ago that I went to my first facilitators class. And now, if you don't know, now I actually facilitate the facilitators. So with Gary, Dane, and Brandon, and we do 3 a year. And we've got one coming up in Australia, which we're very excited about. We're excited about it because it's facilitators, and I always love facilitators. By the time you get there, they're always like a stallion, just going, what else? Like, give me more. So they're not trying to fight you and go, I don't know. No, that money tool doesn't apply to me. They would like to get it all out there into the world. So it's a different energy facilitating that class as well. And a word of warning, it's not the class where like the four of us sitting on stage are nice and kind to you. I will say Brendan and I are like the good cops, but there's, you know, you don't get to do bars. You don't get to run body processes or anything like that during this class. You have to be present. And why? Because you have to be present during the class. When you're facilitating, you can't afford to have any of your stuff going on. Like, you can't bleed over a class. You can't afford to have any of that going on. And you have to, and it's like a muscle. You have to learn how to be present, sitting there with a whole classroom full of people. So, but the one in Australia, we're actually having it at a venue. Yay. The crowd really does go wild. And it's at Mooloolaba in Queensland. So, and we get it. I know there's a lot of people who are not going to be able to make it there live, including around Australia, because if you live in Australia, you know what I'm talking about. At the drop of a hat, the borders keep closing, and it's crazy and insane. Because do you know how many COVID cases we have in Australia right now? 6. I just heard the news on the way home. 6. And that's why they shut the borders. Yeah. That's really sane. But everything that is redestroyed and uncreated, and can we do something right now? Anything that any of you have had to do with creating corona virus, any virus in any lifetime, will you now destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Right now, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So for those of you who can come to Malula Bar, you're going to have me on stage, and then we've got a huge, really cool setup because we've got some great tech people, and you'll get to see Gary, Dane, and Brendan. And we'll start at like 9:30 Australian time because it's the class here. And then we'll have the 4 of us in the morning. Then you get your lunch break or whatever the hell it is for you, wherever you are in the world. And then we'll have business time. And can I tell you, business time has become so amazing. And
So fun.
it's something that you also need to listen to over and over again, because you hear it when you hear it and you get it when you get it. There is so much valuable information that we have created for you guys over the years. Dane and I always joke about when we learnt bars, we had to learn bars and walk to class in the snow uphill and back both ways. Like there was no cheat sheet, there was no manual, there was no anything like that. So there's so much valuable information out there now to contribute to you. Just a bit of information. The way Gary created the manual was because people would come up to him and say, hey, I wrote down these notes. Is this what we were talking about in class? And he would look at it and go, no, that's not what we're talking about. So that's the history of how manuals actually came into place. Because you hear it, like, honestly, then that's why we send you the recordings. Because when you listen to it again, you go, seriously, did we talk about that? I heard that in such a different way. So that's why we created the manuals. That's why the manuals are there for you as a certified facilitator to contribute to you, to assist you. And it's like, I can't tell you how much fun it is facilitating. So I'm really excited that there's a whole bunch of you that are looking forward to, you're on the road to being a CF. So I'm Simone Miller says, hi, and Francesca or Lauren, over to you. I said, who's leading this thing? And I was like, are the 4 of us just getting on there and talking? The 4 of us talk very, very well.
So
Look at the flowers you guys have, though. It's just so elegant and beautiful.
Pardon?
The flowers you have.
Oh, thank you.
And you're just beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Which one of you guys?
Good. You go, Lauren.
Okay. I was saying you go, but I can go. I'm Lauren. I've been also around for about 10 years. I love the story how you got to your first CF class, Simone, and I was just reminiscing of mine. But what I want to say though,
what was yours? Because it was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. So I was living in Denver, Colorado, and I was an acupuncturist. And I started running bars on my patients. So when you say, Gary, talking about using it on your clients, I was definitely using bars and body processes and verbal processes on my patients in my acupuncture practice. That's how I started out. But I knew as soon as I found my first, bars foundation class that I wanted to be a CF. I also had no money. And so I went to my first, it was called 2 and 3 then, but it's like a COP. And then I went to my second one somehow, when you choose something and then you have money. So I got to these 2 classes, which was at that time like
Whoa. You have to talk about that.
Okay, I'm going to.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I got to the second COP class and someone in the class said, well, you've done 2 of these now. Are you going to become a CF? And I was like, I don't. And the class was in Costa Rica and I was in Denver, which, it's closer than Australia and Texas, but it's not, when you have no money, it's not that close. And I was like, and she goes, what are the infinite possibilities of you getting there? And I was like, and I actually just considered it. And I was like, wow, like what would it take? And I chose it. So this is step 1, right? So I chose it and I had no idea how I was going to get there. And the class was like, I don't know, 2 weeks away or something. And I put, I didn't have a car. I had a scooter. I put my scooter up for sale on the side of the road with a sign. I just started looking at literally couch cushions, asking, favors, everything. Just what can I do to get there? A check showed up in the mail for $3,000, out of nowhere. And my boyfriend at the time bought me the plane ticket. And it all just fell in place. And I was sitting in Costa Rica, like, how on earth did I get my butt here? But it was the best decision I've probably made in my entire life. Like my whole life changed from that one choice. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I have no idea, but I'm there. and I was there.
Hey, can
So-
I just say, this is not like, Lauren is not odd with this. I'm not odd with this. All of us have had these places where we chose, and that's the demand of you, the choice, and the request of the universe, and the universe delivers. And one of the things that Gary said to me very early on too, because I was asking the same thing, I wanted to go to a 7-day event in Costa Rica, and Australia is far from Costa Rica. And I was like, how the hell am I ever going to afford this? Like everything to do with it. But I knew I wanted to go. And I was asking to go, and I was choosing to go and demanding to go. And then I was standing there, and I'd sold some of my merchandise, and I had all this cash in my hand. And Gary said to me, when you ask for the money to show up and it shows up, make sure you use it for what you ask it for. Like, don't go, oh no, I should go pay the bills, because the universe just gifted you what you asked for.
Do you know what, Simone? Because I heard you I must have heard you say that back then, because when that check showed up in the mail, and I was in so much debt too. And and like from anyone's point of view outside, in this reality would be like, you should use that money for a lot of other things. And I just looked at, okay, I asked to go to this class. The money literally showed up to go. And if I don't honor that creation, it's like slapping the universe in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And
so
the universe is forgiving. So everywhere that you slap the universe in the face, will you now make the demand of yourself that you never, ever, ever slap the universe in the face again, and you start receiving, and everything that that is, times of God see him, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what energy, space, consciousness, choice, magic, miracles, mysteries, and possibilities can you, your bodies, and your business be that would allow you to infinitely receive for all eternity with ease, joy, and glory. And everything that that is, times of Godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. When was your first class, Francesca? Your father facilitated.
My first class, my first CF was 2013 in Rome. And just I came across the Access Consciousness tool like a couple of years earlier, like a year and a half earlier. And I literally, I had the money to have my bars class. And then after that, after 6 months using the Access Consciousness tools, I left my house where I had my husband there. I took my daughter with me, and I knocked the door to my mom. She looked at me, what are you doing here? I'm staying here now. Will you welcome me? No one will ever imagine I could have done something like that, because my life was so in that relationship of, a little bit of abuse, or no one will ever thought that I could have made a different choice. But through the Access Consciousness tools, as you were mentioning before, Simone, at the beginning, I really got, this is what I'm looking. This is really what I knew was possible. So to make it a little bit shorter, I had an amazing friend of mine that she actually had the money. And in a very short time, she took so many classes. So through her and through free videos and everything, I was getting more and more tools every day. And I was using them, anything, until I got the money to do my first foundation. And my manual of foundation is still there in Venice, because now I'm in Australia. If you didn't know, I'm Italian, but living in Australia at the moment, I use it, I open every day and I say, okay, what's the tool of the day? And so much, because I didn't have the idea of I want to become a CF, but I knew I want to use these tools over and over and over. And one day I did the demand that Simone was talking about, running my bars. I'm like, you know what? I literally desire to travel the world, change people's life, and make money. And then if I look at myself after a few years, that's what I actually was doing. I was traveling 10 months a year without stop, basically. That facilitator that I did, because you guys, you, Simone, Dane, Gary, that you noticed me in a few classes and you start asking me to working with Access Consciousness. So my first class, actually, I was working and I didn't have the money to pay for it, but I was working on the bookshop. And then I work on the registration. And I remember that and doing a few things, I remember at the end of the class, I came to you and say, Simone, I'm still owing this amount for the class. These are the commission for the bookshop. I will pay you off in a little while. You look at me, the class is paid off. I was like, whoa. This is I still remember how I got for the first time a true generosity of spirit, receiving that from you guys. And I know it was you telling me that, but behind you there was Gary Dane.
Dane. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But do you remember how amazing you were? Because your generosity of spirit with what you were willing to give to all of us and be for all of us and make sure everything was organized, make sure Gary and Dane had everything that they needed, everything. And it's like that. And that's how this all works. And it's like, and here's something that Gary told me a very long time ago, is that if you be that generosity of spirit, it's like, say you have that generosity of spirit and you're, you know, I don't know, $10 over here. It's like the universe will gift you at least 10 times more. But it may not come from where you think it's supposed to come from. It usually doesn't. But if you be that generosity of spirit, the universe has got your back. Consciousness has your back. And that's so much about following the energy and that road to being a CF, that road, I mean, road to being a CF, yes, but road to empowering people to know that they know. And that's the tagline of Access Consciousness. And Francesca is the worldwide coordinator, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you didn't know.
Couple of years later, a few years later. Yeah. It's truly like, and how you all say the fact that you made a choice, you made an amend, and it's a choice, and then you ask the universe to contribute to you. For me, it didn't look like the life I'm living now, but matched the energy of the life I'm living now. Sharing these tools around the world and being this, even when I am not officially a facilitator, because I can't walk in the gym and say, oh, I'm a certified facilitator. What can I do for you? But you be there, walking, talking, certified facilitator of consciousness. And that's the amazingness, because like, that's what I got. And I started facilitating after a few facilitator classes, because for me, that class, the first class in Rome I was talking about, was literally having that step different. Like, as you mentioned, Simone, like there was a different demand from people in the class, and I got so much out of it. And I went through so much out of my own stuff as well. And so it's literally like with Access Consciousness, and it's a little bit like my dreams came true, that you don't have to have all your ducks in a row to be something. You need to choose it first. So yeah. And tell us more, Sarah, when you chose to become a CF as well, because like she introduced us, but
well, I love too how in our stories the similarity is this place where we all were willing to say yes. And for me, I did my first CF class in Noosa, and I didn't really intend to become a CF. I think I was like, even what Simone was saying, I was in the CF class because by then I was working for Access, and it was the next class, right? I was working on all these classes, receiving all of this amazing, amazing information. And I was like, well, imagine in 5 days of being at the time then with Gary and Dane, teaching people basically what they do in a way, like to have these tools that you could create a business from. I was like, but I'm not going to do that. No, I'll just keep behind the scenes and working for Access. So I got myself there through saying yes. So when I started with Access, I did an internship actually with Lauren Marie and Rebecca Holz. And then I did an internship with Joy of Business. And then I went to my first 7-day in Costa Rica, and a lot of people were like, oh, who's this person? And, oh, do you want to join this team? And can you help us with that? And I would just be like, yes, 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 yes. So I just started picking up as many different projects as I could and teaching myself everything that I needed to know as I went along. And really, I just became this huge sponge of everything around me. It was like it became my life very quickly. Access Consciousness, and before that, like, because my story was like 10 years ago was when I first found Access. And then I did a little bit, and I don't know how many other people do this, but you're kind of like, yeah, I got my fill of that. I'm going to just go, I'm young, I'm going to go and, probably make some interesting choices for a few more years. And I remember the whole time Access was just this like little seed that was growing somewhere in my world and just constantly there. And I remember one day, I don't know if it was one day or like, that I was like, wow, there's not been anything else since I found that thing that has ever come close to matching what I've always known is possible. So that's when I started asking questions. What would it take to have something like that as my job? I've always been quite successful in what I've done for work, but never been satisfied, always been that dissatisfied dreamer, and kept asking these questions about having something like Access as a job where there was such a freedom in it. And then maybe a day or two later, this Facebook ad popped up, and it was Lauren Marie and Rebecca Holst looking for an intern. And from there, I just kept saying yes. And 6 months later, I quit my job and worked full-time for Access, and have just kept saying yes ever since. And finally did start facilitating. I now definitely facilitate a lot. I love facilitating so much. And the thing, and maybe we could talk about that next, like what facilitating creates for us in the world. I mean, what would a world with 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million access consciousness facilitators be like? And I know for me, when I facilitate, like Simone said, you can't have any shit. It's like you show up as you in totality, and you're there for the people that you have in your class or on your call or your free Zoom or whatever it is that you're doing. And you become this vulnerable space with yourself and with everyone else. And there's not really much you can hide when you're facilitating. And then you tend to just take that into the world. And every time I facilitate, it seems to chip away a little bit more of the crap that I've built up around myself, basically. It gives me more of me, and I know that it creates something greater in the world. So that's why I love this stuff, and why I keep, and even all of us. I mean, Simone is like, she does the COPs, she does facilitators, and she's doing a bars class next month. Francesca, you're the worldwide coordinator, and I know you've got a bunch of classes booked. Lauren as well. Like, none of us stop facilitating in place of our jobs. It's all such a contribution to each other. So yeah.
I remember when I started facilitating COPs, and Megan Hill, who's like one of our head of our social media, said, you know what, you just blew everything for me, because I thought, because I was worldwide coordinator for 18 years and then handed the baton to Francesca. But when I started facilitating COPs, Megan said to me, if you can do that and what you're doing, she went, then I have no excuse for not facilitating. And so many times, and we really hold your hand afterwards as well. There's so many staff and people that contribute to you when something like that shows up for you. So, hey, I know if you've got questions, there's a few in the chat here. So
in the chat, I'm leading.
Yeah. So one of the things, I know one I can answer quickly, is from Uli. You're saying first you take all the classes and prerequisites within 1 year. You don't have to do them within 1 year. Not that I know of. And I don't know all that anymore, but you don't have to. It's like, if it takes you 2 years or 3 years, that's fine. There are certain classes that you have to do within a certain amount of time, like say a COP, I think it is within 12 months, things like that. But it's all written on the website too, when you go to, how to be a facilitator. Can you see those other questions up there, Francie?
I see there's a question that it's also like the fact.
Sorry, go.
They're talking about how to fulfill the requirement that are asking for in-person classes. Would there be a way around this during these unpredictable times? So look, we just actually added this prereqs, because during COVID time, we had mainly online classes. And we came across, literally for this CF, starting in USA at the 10th of February, that we had one person choosing to become a CF that never did a live class. What does it mean? She bought all the things on the shop, and she never really actually showed up or in an online class or in a live foundational bars. So we look at this, I'm like, there might be there has to be at least for 1 bars and foundation, the requirement to have a live class. And if you have any question about your prereqs and ask for exception or tell us what is your situation at the moment, the CF prereqs team they are wonderful. So please send an email to cf@accessconsciousness.com. Is it cf@accessconscious.com correct? Is it? Yes? Yes.
Yeah,
so
just put it
they
in the
will
chat.
get back to you. Thank you, because we always look at individually.
Yeah, well, it
but
depends what
the
city,
con-
what country. It's like everything is so different around the world, and we're willing to be flexible, but we're also not willing to be taken advantage of. So that's the difference.
Thank you.
And can I tell you, facilitating, when you do a COP, like if you come and do a COP with me online and you're like this, like in the Zoom thing, you can't get away with much. Not that you want to, but do you know what I mean? It's like, yes, it is different not being in a room with people, and I'm very much looking forward to being in a room with people, and I've had a couple of classes that I have had that, and the online is quite amazing. And can I say, I always usually ask people not to connect through the computer, but to connect energetically, because that's how we are aware of each other as well, not through a computer. We're just using that as a visual.
And just one thing I noticed with a couple of, like, not to answer some of the questions specifically, but to also use the tools, guys. Like, there's one lady here that says in the beginning, Valeria, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. In the beginning, choosing the road to CF, it felt light and now it feels weird. Who does it belong to? Like, is that actually yours? It's also this place where the more you start tapping into this world of facilitation and the more aware you become, the more aware you become. So on this road to CF, like whether it's like this meandering path that you take a year, 2 years, 5 years, or whether you're like Lauren or a lot of other people I know that are like, bam, 2 weeks later, I'm there. Like, what if you now more than ever were willing to use the tools of Access Consciousness and know that 99.9% of the stuff that comes up actually is not yours? And especially when you start facilitating, you're going to perceive so much in the people's worlds that you are facilitating. And to be aware of that is going to be such a kindness to you and such a kindness to them. There was someone else also talking about like this weirdness of traveling now. Again, like the whole world is completely in a state of weirdness about traveling. Like, is that actually your weirdness? Or is it just a matter of you being more aware now? And I remember I heard Dane say once, you're at least 10 billion times more aware than you think you are. So what if like pretty much everything out there you perceive is your awareness? And what questions can you ask to create the ease and the joy of this meandering path, of this road to CF being totally ease and totally space and totally fun?
I'd like to add to that too. Sorry, I just had to go handle something, and but I could hear you, Sarah. And also, if you look at it and you go, it was light and it's not light for me now, don't do it. Yeah. Like, you don't, this is not about us trying to convince you to be a certified facilitator. This is about us coming on here to talk about what it's been like for us, and if you have any questions, etc. Access, please choose it when you choose it. And it's like, and do not trust me, don't trust Sarah, don't trust Lauren, don't trust Francesca, definitely don't trust Tiffany. No, I'm kidding. No. It's like, trust you. Trust what you know, okay? And it's like, this is not about us trying to convince you to do anything, please. It's like, I'd rather have 10 great kick-ass certified facilitators that knew that that's what they desired to be, and to move forward with that, okay? Always trust you and ask as many questions as you can. And can I tell you, I think I was one of the most, what do I call it? What's the word? Like, I was in so much resistance when I first came along. My first foundation class, I walked out of the class after day 2 and I told my facilitator to fuck off. I have better things to do with my life than this. And I left. And he was like, okay. And I went home and I drank a bottle of wine, not a glass of wine, a bottle of wine. And then I woke up in the morning and I came back to class and I was horrible. Like I sat there with my arms crossed, just glaring at him. And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, you're back." And I went, "Yeah, I paid for it, so I'm here." And I was such an asshole to him, like most of that day. But I knew later, like I also went home, drank a bottle of wine and cried because I knew my whole entire life was changing. This is what I'd been asking for. And it was just like, vroom, it was here. So I was doing whatever my last hurrah of how can I resist this? And also, once I became a facilitator, I didn't facilitate for about a year because I was so afraid that somebody like me was going to show up in class. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do if someone like me shows up in class? And then I eventually got over that point of view and I started facilitating, and it's been amazing. But please trust what you know. You know what makes you feel lighter. You know what makes you feel heavier. Go with that. And as Sarah said, who does it belong to? Like how many of you have been empowered to keep choosing every single day something greater, something greater, something greater? I mean, some of you guys just saw Preston before on Lauren's lap, and I look at those twins. I mean, I spend a lot of time with the twins as well, and I'm so grateful to have them in my life. And I was telling someone about our Christmas Day and how we had a Christmas Day together and the twins, and I was like, these twins have grown up being born as a gift. And every single day, they don't just have their parents, they have all their friends around them, letting them know that they can choose whatever it is they want to choose, and they can choose greater each and every day. That's not what most of us grew up with. So how many of you, when you keep choosing greater and greater and greater, then what shows up is this energy of you go, shit, no one else is choosing this. Maybe I should take a few steps back and compress myself rather than keep choosing greater, keep choosing greater, keep choosing greater, whatever that is. If you ever come along to another access class or not, that's your choice. But please keep choosing greater, no matter what that takes.
Yeah.
Can I add something too about studying access and becoming a I don't know, good facilitator? Like, it's not like anything else that you study. There's no right way to do it or learn it, and it's not really about learning. It's more about, I mean, it's about so many different things. But what I notice, the only real way to become a greater facilitator is to facilitate. And as I love how Frenchie says, like, you know, it's not about going into class and sitting on stage and now I'm a facilitator. It's like being that walking facilitator energy in your life. And it's sort of like you use the tools. You have to unlearn how you learned in this reality to do stupid things like judge. And then you over time, you sort of like don't have to do them, you more become them. And so it's a way of being in the world. And like Simone said, my kids have been raised in a different way than probably all the rest of us were. Like, I wasn't raised to not judge. I was raised to look at like, this is right, this is wrong, and all of that. So if that's a contribution, it's not about how many classes you take or how many clearings you run or when you screw up and you accidentally, you know, don't use like access language, which is like bullshit anyway. It's not about using like the right words. It's, yeah, what is it for you? Like, I love, my favorite thing I think Gary stands for is that he doesn't want anyone to know who he is. He wants the tools out in the world. Like, he knows he'll be a success if everyone's using the tools and no one knows his name. Who creates that way? It's so different. It's so weird.
It's true.
Yeah.
And also, can I add something as well, that there is so many resources for ACF, like starting from the reference material, all the telecalls, all the classes we have to go through to become ACF. And all of that and more, it's so valuable because like access consciousness giving us the tools to become the greatest that we could ever imagine we could be. And I remember once I was talking with Gary, I'm like, that reference material, when you chose you guys to put them together, the reference material is everything that they, you know, has been taken away from the foundation manual and the COP manual during the, I don't remember how many years, Simone. I don't want to say something wrong.
It's well, it's been since I started because we didn't have the, like, yeah.
Yeah, since, wow,
21
20
years
years,
at least, I think
21
there's
years ago.
been, yeah.
And it doesn't have that you have to know everything by memory, but consciousness has your back. If you want to have an information, if you want to know more about something, you go there. That's why it's been asked to go through the reference material, and there is a survey as well for you guys to have confidence with that information. Because we are using the Access Consciousness tools. I'm actually reading here now, it's becoming difficult to go through all the prereq. Like, I'm like, we are more potent than what we define on ourselves. And we get so worried about the future because we want to have everything in place. What if it's not? What if it's really like you trust yourself, you trust your knowing, and you trust that you can do this? That's it. And I haven't ever been a good student, even if I was, but I was really a rebellion. So every time someone put me on, you have to do all of the things, I'm like, oh, go away from it. With Access Consciousness was so different, because it was like I took it as a game, a playground for my life. So what if, you know, all of that is, instead of being serious and we have to have everything perfect. There's your other question. There are a lot of questions, but probably I missed some of them.
Yeah.
And you guys can come off mute too if you want.
Yeah, like Mark, you've written a whole thing here, but there's no question there. So if you have a question, let's ask a question. And then there was someone too that someone said, yeah, this is what I wanted to say. Valeria, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. That's a hell of a last name too. Abdurakhmanova.
Valeria was great, I think.
That's amazing. I obviously didn't get it correct because she's in hysterics. That's your new name, Valeria Abdurakhmanova. But I love that you said that, you know, you asked the universe for something, money, training, blah, blah, blah. You started creating basic things for the house, da, da, da. And now even you noticed that you started cleaning dishes and watching, you all had like everything started. So, oh, sorry, maybe I read that wrong. And I noticed that I started cleaning dishes and watching you all, and suddenly, boom, what am I doing? How to change this? Hey, if you want to wash the dishes and listen to us, that's totally fine. This is one of the things that you'll learn as the tools too, like an X-Man. When I'm working, I very rarely have nothing on. Sometimes like the other day, I was like, hang on, let me turn everything off. I had like the TV on, I had music on, and maybe I've got a class in my ear or something like that. I'm so like, that's who you be as a humanoid. Sometimes you need to do a whole bunch of things. There's people I have meetings with, and I'm not going to name names, that I have to find something else to do when I'm meeting with them because they like to drag meetings on. And I used to get frustrated. Instead of that, I went, no, what I'll do is I'll give myself another job to do, at least one while I'm on that meeting, and it makes it way easier. So maybe washing the dishes is something therapeutic for you to listen to us.
So if it's us, we will notice now from now on, ladies.
Yeah,
Just
like, she doesn't like us. We're boring. Yeah. So don't judge it. Like, don't judge anything that you choose. Don't judge anything that you choose, ever. Ever.
Yeah, ladies, I'm so grateful. It's me. It's Valeria.
So
Valerie,
please say your whole name. What's your name?
Valerie Abdurakhmanova.
That was close.
you were
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Not fast
Definitely.
enough.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful because when I started typing this question, I started acknowledging that it's X-Men capacity, and I just and a whole bunch of stuff just shift in my universe, and just I'm grateful.
And not to overload you all, but once you do facilitators, there's a whole that it sort of opens up a whole lot more stuff as well. Because I mean, I think a few days later we've got the Joy Business Facilitator training, so you can take that too. You've got Being You facilitators, X-Man facilitators, Right Voice for You facilitators, 3-day body class facilitators. So this is, if you want to choose this, it's like this is just one leap that you can take. And I've noticed that there's people who have been facilitating Bars and Foundation for years, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'd like to add more to my, my whole, Christopher Hughes has been facilitating Bars and Foundation and Right Voice for You classes, and he's coming to Joy Business training because he said, I want to add something else to my classes. So he wants to do Business Done Different classes. So there's more that you can choose all the time. And I need to say one thing here. Have a look at what truly matters to you. I asked that question before. And most of the time, what I have noticed over the years is if anyone chooses to be a facilitator based on being a guru, or which is usually getting it right, or based on money, like you already count the money that's going to be in your bank account for being a facilitator, never works. Sorry. It's like, I would empower you to love money. I hated money for so long, and now I like money. I can have money. I can use money. I have fun with it, all of that, but I don't do it for money. And there are some times that I will choose something because it's more money. Okay. So you don't sort of refuse it, but you don't make it about that. So have a look at what's, what matters to you. So Vicky, you said you feel like you have to die to do this. That's a little dramatic, don't you think?
Yay.
Do you want?
Well, Simone, every time I start to do something, something happens that squishes me.
So here's the tool I would give you. Okay. Every time something like that shows up, because so often we'll do something, and Sarah Watt just did a book club on living beyond distractions, and the book that Gary and Dane wrote, and it's brilliant. And I know you can buy the book club, on her website, sarahwatt.com.au, or get the book, whatever works for you. But start having a look at that, because we create this blame of something else. And one of my favorite tools that's in the foundation manual, how did I create this? And if you're willing to be truly vulnerable and ask when something shows up, and if you have to take yourself into a bathroom and people think you have diarrhea, then do that, or take yourself outside, or whatever you can. But just look at what you've decided. Something happens, because nothing happens, you create it, and ask, how did I create this? And some random things will come up. If you've got a good buddy that is willing to help you and ask you questions and not align and agree with you, that's even better. Because it's like, how did I create this? And it's like, oh, okay, so if I create this crap showing up, that means I can still be the same as everyone else. I'm going to fit in. How did I create this? Well, it still keeps me in debt. And can I tell you, out of the years of talking to people about money, most people are comfortable having no money. Most people are uncomfortable having money. I know it's a little bit woo-hoo, and good thing we're cute. Sometimes we're not very bright, but we create stuff showing up in our lives to limit us. Most of us love our limitations. So
sweet
right
limitation.
Sweet limitations. So right now, whoever's willing to, will you please melt everything that you've decided is your limitations and what holds you back, whether it's family, friends, money, where you live, your culture, your religion, or whatever it is. Put your attention on all of those things that you've decided are your limitations, all of them. Okay. Now I just want you to put your attention on them and just melt them. Now they're melting like hot wax. Okay. And everywhere that you've made those limitations so real that keeps you from being the greatness of you each and every day with ease, joy, and glory, we now destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right, and on good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, short, boys and beyonds. It's like enough. One of the conversations that Chitisa Bowman, who a lot of you might know, written amazing books, and she had this conversation with Gary Douglas at lunch one day, and he said to her, okay, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay you for your limitations. Will you give up all of your limitations and I'll pay you for it? She was like, okay. And he said, how much do you want for it? And she sat there for a while and thought about it. And then she said, $1 million. And he said, why wouldn't you just give up those limitations for free? And she looked at him and she went, do you know how hard I've worked for those? My whole entire life, I've created those limitations. And you just want me to throw them away? Now, how many of you have, that's the one thing that you try and define yourself by? is your limitations, rather than find out what it's like to be you without that. A life of ease, joy, and glory. That mantra of Access, all of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory. That shit is real. It works.
Use it.
Everything of that is right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah. Cool. What else?
I think someone had their hand up, but maybe they put it down. It was Mark. Maybe we answered his question. There was a question about the clearing statement. Do they need to say it in English when they are facilitating foundation? No, some languages do translate the clearing statement, but it should be written in the foundation manual as well, with how it appears in your language. Is Costa Rica training on in August this year? What would it take? I would love to see my horse.
Yeah, look, with the schedule, we are creating it as we know best at the moment. We do have dates for the Europe facilitators as well. It's going to go ahead for those dates no matter what, whether it's live in Europe or online. It's the 27th to the 31st of May. And then you've got obviously the Australian one, the 10th to the 14th of February, which is, on the website. If you can, please come live to Mooloolaba. We would so love to hug you and have you there. And if not, it's going to be just as great online. And like I said, we're doing the best we can. Francesca and myself and Jonas and Katerina and a few other people contribute to putting the schedule together. And that is what we would like. And I know every single city in every single country is different. Like, for example, Australia, we have six whopping cases, but we are probably one of the hardest countries to get into or out of. So, because they've decided the rest of the world is tainted. And everything that is times a godzillion, let's destroy and uncreate it. Right on green bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Can I say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we will change this, because one of the things I just wanted to add is I was just talking to someone today, and this may resonate with you, is, you hear all these different things about what's going on in the world. And if you don't resist and react to it, because when you resist to something, it gives it more strength. And I love when Gary describes how being vulnerable is like a marshmallow. You poke the marshmallow and it goes back to being a marshmallow. So it's not about being a doormat, but it's never giving up what truly matters to you. And energetically, I don't know if you can see me or whatever, but it's like what I'm doing is there's this solid, like if you think of like a soccer ball or something like that, a football, and this solidity of what's being created. But what if we were always, boom, what if we were always more than that and greater than that? And I get that sense that when we're being greater than that, there's going to be a day where we all go, wow, that didn't show up the way I thought it was going to show up. But somewhere in my world, I know that this is all changing. It's just not going to look like what I think it's going to look like. So keep moving forward and keep every single day asking, what would it take for my life, my living, my business, my money, my fun, my joy, everything, my sex life, my body, everything to be greater today than it was yesterday. If you keep asking that and keep being that, we can create our future. Okay. Thumbs up. Or this is our gang sign.
The gang sign.
Yeah.
And what the courage to choose to become a CF. And in this moment of time, I'm like, whoa. So what a courage.
And what if you had way too much fun? Like we
do
fun.
actually, but don't tell
we
them.
Really do. We have fun. We're not like, oh, we are serious now that we are, facilitating or we are doing this. It's fun. And when Gary said, what if the purpose of life was to have fun? I was like, are you kidding me? Someone could have told me that a very long time ago. I've had so many conversations of the purpose that I'm here. What if the purpose was for you to have fun on this planet? Because tell you what, nature's not judging. Nature's like, let's go. Okay. All right. What else? Are we good? I don't know how long we're meant to be here for.
And if you are
I
a
think we did very well.
yeah,
That was
and if
awesome.
you are already a CF on the 26th, there is a special call just for CF when we're going to talk about new few stuff. That's it. 26. I think it's Australia, just for the CF. Yeah.
And that's a great question that Esther just asked. She said, still purchasing a few of the prereqs. Is that when you should wait to register? No, you can register right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, the registration itself
And it's
creates
also,
something.
yeah, creates for you to choose, but it's also because you will be contacted by the CF prereqs. And they will check with you, what are you missing, when are you thinking to have it, and all of that. So for us to be prepared,
I would say register right away.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a class that if something we have to choose or extend it, you can register the day before. It's also, you know, it's, yeah, I will say so. And how much you registering will create that demand, will be
They
that
start
demand.
to engage with you. It's like booking a restaurant. It's like then they know that you're there, and it's like, what do we want? Do you have da da da? Yeah, we have an amazing staff.
Really,
Yeah,
really. Thanks.
awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for coming on here. I look forward to seeing you somewhere in the world, and keep choosing greater each and every day, no matter what you choose. That's your choice.
Say, Wellington say that he's wasted 2 classes and some telecalls. How does it get any better than that? Yeah, it's so nice. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
You're so welcome.
You're wonderful.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone. So fun. Thank you, translators.
Valerie's name. All right.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Tiffany. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.